I am HolloH, and you're listening to Death Dream. It's like I don't know what tomorrow is and I don't know my fate. There's a solace in that. That is sort of like a beckoning for an opportunity. But the thread between that and here is this love that I'm falling into that I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's holding me here. Like it's holding this desire to see what happens, because there's gonna be more feelings that I've never had before and more experiences I've never had before. With Death Dream, I started to get really depressed around July, and it just was this recurrent, low energy, sad bass line, and something about that feeling of depression makes you just, it's not like you want to kill yourself, and you know, but it's just there's this huge pointlessness of why you're alive, what your purpose is, or when you feel like you're working so much that you forget why you're waking up for these things every day. And so Death Dream was sort of like this feeling of like this constant imagination I was having about just jumping off of a building and finding a freedom in that feeling of just wanting sort of an end and basically overanalyzing myself into pointlessness. And I developed it a little bit more during the House of Stairs retreat in Tinaja, and was kind of just jotting out some doodles and different thoughts about cement and buildings and that kind of imagery. And I was kind of showing it to the bandmates, and they're just like, wow, this is really just sad. There's nothing nice about this at all in like a positive way. So I tried to end it on a more loving note, because what's particular about the song is that it's a juggling between this hopelessness and paleness and just being fed up, and then being intensely in love with someone. And they kind of do this braiding thing. And so it's like there's this falling in a love dream and feeling like there's this one source of solace for purpose and vitality, combined with just feeling this hollowness in that sort of work, constant routine drive, and just not having the respite to really solve the puzzle of it. I feel like the first half of the song leads to the question, how do I revive a mind that craves the end? And you know what, and that's another thing about the end, is not always, you know, pure blood death. It's not always about, like, there's so many ways to die in our lives, and I think it's important to have those kinds of cycles where you can start something, you can watch it ascend, and then you can allow it to end, because those cycles enable more life to start and end and everything else. And when we attach to all these different phases of our lives, we're not giving ourselves the space for what's next. So I came up with the arpeggiated motive stuff and played those out, and then Seth has like a million plugins and he went off. For us, I feel like there's always kind of a little bit of a pull between his excitement about all the sounds and his capacity to appreciate all the sounds simultaneously, and my extreme reverence for as minimal amount of sound as possible. And so I think that's kind of the biggest conversation between the two of us, is trying to find that reconciliation between the brain that he's in with all these options and the brain that I'm in of mostly just wanting silence and kind of just doing sound because sometimes sound. The roles between Seth and I, so I wrote the lyrics and the melody and the chord progressions, and I went in and played the arpeggiated key parts throughout the song, and gave that to him, and then he went and added all the extra layers and the little drum things. He also found a random opera singer sound at one point, so there's this like random vibrant lady that hangs out during the song. And then he took a jab at arranging the interlude string section, and he drafted that, and then I came in and kind of tweaked some of the voice leading for some of the string parts that he made. But it was all using Logic mostly, and my mini log, which is slowly coming out of the crypt. What I'm looking for is just a feeling of calm. And so when he sends something back and I feel like I can rest in the sound, then I feel like it's done. And then we had JJ Catalyst do the mix and mastering. So that's just kind of where the voice is placed in the mix and how the rest of those sounds are kind of sitting in their own little puzzle so that they're interacting with each other in a clear, understandable way. So I also feel like his work was very helpful for that whole collaboration. Just in the distinction between being alone as a writer and having someone who's as kinetic as Seth is, because he's very driven, he's highly activated, and he's highly invested in the excitement of point A and honoring getting it to point B in a way that I've never seen a person do. And so just the entire process of how he relates to me in songwriting is healing in so many ways. A is like, you know, you don't have time to get overly sculpted about everything because you've got to go from A to B. You've got to keep going. Don't stop to overanalyze. And then his excitement about it is so infectious. So it's like, well, maybe I'm not crazy. Maybe I have business sharing this idea because this person is obviously feeling value in listening to this idea. Almost like this parental figure for your very intimate self or something, like where you get to feel seen in this thing that you're afraid to be excited about. So I think those songs only happened and finished and came out as they did because of how Seth is invested in doing the work and honoring the work and being flexible with the work, because he's not trying to put his ego out on this whole thing, and he's very able to have difficult conversations in all aspects of the music, and it really serves the music well, which is great.